I want to talk about the only reason why I kept my Nintendo Switch over in favor of my Steam Deck. Now, I own a Steam Deck and I own a Nintendo Switch. I love them both, don't get me wrong. But I've talked about this a little bit in a previous video when it came to the ergonomics of the Steam Deck. But really, the big reason is it came down to timing. Now, at the time when the Nintendo Switch had released back in 2017, there wasn't really many competitors out there who had handheld gaming PCs that were very affordable. Neither were they as good as they are now. There was this sort of thing for the longest time that I wanted a console that was portable, but also ergonomic and almost like a hybrid. There were times long ago before the Steam Deck came out and long before the Nintendo Switch came out in 2017 where I was thinking of ways that I would have a handheld or a mobile gaming system, a mobile gaming PC that allowed me to play games. I was really stubborn back then when it comes to trying to make something work, right? There was the Nvidia Shield, that was a thing. They had that big old Nvidia tablet because you were able to play your AAA titles on this Nvidia tablet back then. And then I never had those, but then for the longest time I owned a Surface Pro. The Surface Pro was a Windows tablet, and it was the first generation of the Surface Pro. But I used that to play games on there. The problem was it was all integrated graphics. You would probably play some, but there was still the limitation of the Surface Pro being 4 gigabytes, and you couldn't do much with it. When the Nintendo Switch came out in 2017, I was like super giddy. I'm like, oh my God, this is what's going to get me back into buying a Nintendo product. The fact that you could play the games anywhere, it was a portable system, and it to the TV. And we were getting games like Skyrim, and we're getting all these AAA titles, obviously with limitations. We were able to do that. So what ended up happening is I bought a Nintendo Switch, and I just started buying Nintendo Switch games. I started buying any game that was on sale. If it was for the PlayStation 4, the Xbox, and PC, and then it came out for the Nintendo Switch, I'd pick up the Nintendo Switch version. Because at this point, I was like, damn, there's no other reason to not get any console. Get the Nintendo Switch one. I can play it wherever I want, and I can dock the TV. I have two-in-one experience right there. So that's the reason why I got so deep into playing the Nintendo Switch. I mean, like, the Nintendo Switch had some pretty good bangers on there, besides Skyrim, and I wish my mind can really think of them at the time. The big one for me, besides Skyrim, was obviously The Witcher 3. And we had the Resident Evil games. There were a lot of ports. I understand there were a lot of ports, but it was one of those situations where I had owned some games on PC already, and I had owned some games on PlayStation, but I wanted a way to play them portably. I wanted a way to do that. And even back then, when you go back and look at the PlayStation Vita was supposed to do majority of that at the time. You had the remote play with PS4, but that was hit or miss because it required you to have a internet connection. It just was not always stable. You had the cross buy feature where any mobile or indie title that came to the PlayStation 3 and 4, you were able to keep it on your Vita and play it on your Vita. That was cool. But there was really no way to unify that experience until and you were like, "Man, this is just not the same. I don't wanna rely on the internet connection just to play my PlayStation 4 games on my PS Vita." So it wasn't until I had to get the Nintendo Switch where that actually became a reality for me. And I didn't wanna pay like $800, $900 for the GDP Win devices because everyone knew that the GDP Win devices were a thing where, everybody was saying, "You can play this on here. Oh, play this game." It was just not feasible. So, fast forward to when you had the Steam Deck, it really just comes down to timing because by the time the Steam Deck came out in 2022, I had already bought a whole bunch of games for my Nintendo Switch. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, I don't wanna really rebuy the same games that I had on my Nintendo Switch. I know there might have been some crossovers, but a lot of the games I bought on my Nintendo Switch, I played them on my Nintendo Switch. I wanna continue them on the Nintendo Switch. So that really comes down to the main reason why I did it. I mean, obviously, ergonomics really were a key with that and why I kept it. It was the fact that I could put it easier in my bag and it's not as clunky as the Steam Deck is. But it really just was one of those situations where the Nintendo Switch still had a place because it had all these titles. And I talked about this in a video that I made in the past when I showed off my Nintendo Switch OLED game collection. And as of now, in this saga of handhelds that I currently have, I have a Nintendo Switch OLED. I have my old G Nintendo Switch, which is modded, and it's actually banned, believe it or not, because of some dumb mistake that I made. Because I played a whole bunch of emulators, and I was not set to say it. That Nintendo Switch is completely donezo in terms of that. But on the flip side, that Nintendo Switch is practically an emulation machine. You have access to all these really good PlayStation 1 titles. And what's amazing about having a Switch like that is even though you can't play online and even though you can't get anything off of the store anymore, the fact that you can take this PSP game, you can put all these old retro games onto a Nintendo Switch and dock it on the TV right on there. There's no like hiccups whatsoever. It just docks. You can undock it. You're playing practically the same game. I have to really say, despite Nintendo's really bad business practices, I really have to give them kudos for creating a system that changed the way that I played games and why I went back to them in the first place. I'm hoping that Nintendo's Switch 2 really continues to innovate on that. I don't really necessarily have any huge issues with the way Nintendo's stuff happens. Sure, they're really bad at certain areas, but there's certain elements of the gaming stuff that I just don't really care about. I'll just play games to play games. But now that I have my Steam Deck, most of the experiences that I play are going to be games on there. So just wanted to share the story why I still have my Nintendo Switch and why it's still a worthy purchase to make in 2024. If you really do want to just have something that's more portable, they're both options to consider. And if you really want something really portable, then go for a PS Vita or DS because those are pretty good systems to have on the market right now. There's just so many options for handhelds right now. And I'm just like, I want to do some videos for the channel about them, but I just can't because I can't. It's not that I couldn't, but it's like there's only a few ways I can go about doing it. I could either A, fork over the money and buy them, which I'm not going to, or reach out and see if I can get a demo unit or sponsorship with some of these to really just check them out. But at this point, I'm pretty happy with the Steam Deck. I'm pretty happy with what I have. And at this point, there's really nothing else there's nothing really out there that speaks of, ooh, I must have it today. So I just wanted to share that. If you guys really want to give a comment on what you guys think and what's your go-to system, leave a comment in the comment section below. My name is Noble Holst. Thank you guys for listening and watching this video, and I will talk to you guys soon. Goodbye.